Well, hello and welcome to Frame.io Live. My name is Ryan. I'm an enterprise customer success manager here at Frame.io, and welcome to Get to Know Frame.io version 4. I have a great agenda for you today. We are going to be doing a complete end-to-end overview of everything Frame.io. I'm going to be taking you through V4. This is a completely live session, so feel free to find that comment section to get things kickstarted. I would love to hear where you're tuning in from, and please let me know if there's anything that you would like to get out of today's session. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. This session will be recorded, so if you sign up for today's session, you will receive a recording after the fact. It will also be posted directly to our YouTube page, available to view at a later date. I will also be using that comment section to drop in the chat a couple of support articles that just reinforce and outline some of the topics that we're discussing today. This is a little bit more of an introductory type session where we are just going to go through the features and functionality and discuss a couple of specific workflows to help set you up for success. I am an enterprise customer success manager here at Frame.io, so there are a couple of enterprise specific features that I will call out as we go along over the course of today. Some of these features may be variable or available to you depending on your account type. But as our agenda, like I said, we're going to do a complete end-to-end overview. So we're going to start by talking about account settings, how you can actually add in users, a couple of global settings that could be adjusted for the account. We're also going to chat about user roles and inviting users into the space. We're also going to chat a little bit about uploading and downloading content, of course, commenting and annotating, how you could actually use some of this for a review and approval process within Frame. We'll also chat about metadata and collection, some of the ways that you can tag and organize your content. And then we'll wrap up talking a little bit about external sharing. But if you're brand new to Frame, we are a secure review and collaboration platform directly built into the web. I'm sharing my screen now. I'm here just under app.frame.io. We are completely web-based. However, there are a couple of external ways that you can connect to Frame.io. Oh, hey, Tommy from DC. Happy to have you here on the call today. We do have an available app for iOS, so for iPad or iPhone, so you can access Frame directly through there as well. And then coming soon, we will also have an integrated panel built into Premiere and also for After Effects, especially for our editors out there. Okay. Let's start with workspaces. Workspaces are the highest level of organization that actually exists within your account. Within each workspace, you then have projects, which is what you're looking at here on my screen now. So here on the left-hand side, you can see I have two workspaces, both marketing and Ryan's team, that will match right here on my home page. And then within those workspaces, like I mentioned, I have projects. Those could either be shown in thumbnail format, or I also can view them in list format, depending on exactly how I want to view them. Hey, Jeff from St. Louis, welcome. Glad you're on the call with me today. The various structure that you build out, depending on these workspaces and projects, really depend on you. I've been at Frame for a little over 2 years, and what I would like to highlight is that there isn't necessarily one right or wrong way to leverage a specific organizational workspace that you prefer. So you really can organize this in any way that you see fit. However, if you are an enterprise customer, you can create as many workspaces as you would like. So I've seen workspaces built out depending on specific clients or perhaps specific projects that you're working on. The benefit of leveraging multiple workspaces is that then you can have projects within those workspaces and invite in specific users. So you can have users who can access the space either at the workspace level, so they have access to every single project within that space, or you can just give users access at the project level. So really depending on how you work, hopefully that just gets you in the right headspace. Tommy, I'm looking for ways to manage cloud-based proxy editing and draft reviewing. Cool. Yeah, I would like to highlight that there isn't any editing capabilities directly within Frame.io, more for review and collaboration. Before we go further and discuss some of the settings and the projects as well, I did want to discuss users. This is a really common question that I receive is how exactly do users access Frame.io and what exactly do users have the ability to do? I'm currently a content owner, so I have full access to all of my content that exists within every single workspace and every single project. I also have the ability to adjust the global settings associated with the account, such as external sharing settings, and I can invite in users. Next, there's a content admin. You can invite in as many content admins as you would like. These users have access across all workspaces and projects, but they differ from the owner in that the content admin can't actually make global changes to the account settings, but just control the users and the projects and the various access and permissions based on workflows. And then lastly, we have members. So members could have general access to account information. They can collaborate within workspaces and projects. They can upload content, but you can also get a little bit granular for what these users actually can do. So, for example, within my marketing project here, I have a list of users, but I could grant them either full access, edit and share, edit, comment only, or view only. So, there's a number of different actions that these users can perform within these spaces. Totally up to you, however, you want to leverage these users. Anybody who actually has a sign in, they will have access to this homepage. They can access your content within Frame. Depending on what role they have, they might be able to upload or download content. But there is one user who never actually occupies a seat, and that's a reviewer. That's anybody who's just receiving a link that you share with them. I'm dropping in the chat now an article that just outlines a little bit more of these user roles and permissions with a little bit more granularity. This can also help inform how you actually invite these users in. So it could be worthwhile to ask, does somebody actually need a license? Do they need access to all of my content? Or are they just simply reviewing something that I've shared with them? We'll come back to this projects page, this home page to create a project and upload some content in just a moment. But I do want to walk through the account settings. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom left-hand corner of my account. I would like to highlight that using your email address, you or a user can have access to multiple different accounts. You can see that I have Ryan's account here, but multiple accounts could be listed, especially if I'm welcomed in maybe as a member on one, but I'm a content admin in a different account. So you can access different spaces. I can, of course, change the theme from light or dark, have it match that on my system. I like the dark, let's keep that. But let's hop into these settings here. Every user will have access to this profile section. I would recommend that your users at least add in a name and a photo. This will then sync with any comments that they leave associated with assets in the future. Your users, of course, can adjust their login credentials here as well. I would like to highlight that if you're an enterprise customer, we can set up multi-factor authentication or SSO. So please reach out to your account manager for additional information. We're happy to enable that for you. Within these account settings, every user can manage the notifications that they receive within Frame.io. The first being email notification frequency. As opposed to receiving an email every single time an action occurs within your account, you can select the digest frequency by which you receive a summary of actions that occur within your account. We find that a lot of times there's multiple comments happening at once. There's content being uploaded, especially if you have a large quantity of users. So this notification frequency can be selected either 5 minutes, every 15 minutes, hourly, or daily, where you just get an update of actions again that have occurred within the account. Those actions being either comments or asset specific. You can also adjust notifications for either in-app, email, or push notification right here for general comments that occur, comment replies, or app mentions. You also can adjust anytime assets are uploaded into your account, status changes, or there's content that's assigned to you. You can select either in-app, email, push notification, all three, or none. Again, that's user specific. This usage tab here on the left-hand side will give you an overview of all of the members associated with your account, the number of projects and content associated. This plan and billing tab will be a little bit specific depending on your account type. You can see mine says enterprise because I'm under an enterprise account. I don't have the ability to adjust any of the content or the users or the seats within my account here. I do have to work directly through an account manager. So if you're on an enterprise plan, that's all different. But plan and billing can be adjusted if you're on one of our self-serve plans, so a pro or a teams plan. That could all be accomplished under this plan or billing tab, adjusting billing details. This users, workspace, and projects tab is especially pertinent and important if you are either an owner or an admin of an account. This is a space where you can actually manage the users, create new workspaces, and get a high-level overview of your projects. Starting with users, I can filter out to see active users or pending users. I also can see the last activity date of users associated with my account, which can also help inform if I actually need to allow or continue to grant a license to these users, or maybe they're done with a project. By clicking on an individual user, I also can see the workspaces and projects that they're associated with and the content that they've shared. I can also invite in new users back here. So let's say I want to invite in my colleague April. I can simply just add in her email address. Oops. And I can invite in then April as either a content admin or a member. Let's leave April as a member. By clicking add, it is going to send an email over to April. If April has not yet created a Frame.io account, this will directly invite her into my workspace, into this specific enterprise account. Not only can I invite users here, but I can do so from that home page. Inviting in a user here does not allocate them to a workspace or a project yet. So we will have to go back and then re-add her into a space. You can also invite in multiple users at the same time. Workspaces. To my point earlier, you can create as many workspaces as you would like if you're an enterprise customer. Let's create a new workspace together. Let's go ahead and call this one Summer Campaign. It's a dark, gloomy day here in New York, so we're dreaming of summer days. We're planning for a project that we have coming up over the summer. We can then create projects within that workspace. But this tab for any existing workspaces will also give me a high-level overview of the members that are part of that workspace and the projects that are associated. This projects tab will also give me a high-level overview of every project that exists within my account. These are currently my active projects, so they're visible on my home screen. I can upload content to them, but I can filter to also view any inactive or recently deleted projects. There's a way that I could hide projects from my homepage if I'm not currently working on them. Again, clicking on these projects will give me a high-level overview of how much space is being occupied within each project and the users associated. Branding. I can adjust the name of my account and the title that's associated. I also can adjust the default shares created within my account in totality. So for example, I have an external stakeholder who I know is going to be reviewing my content. I know that I'm going to have users in my account who are sharing content with those stakeholders. I want to make sure that my header, the logo, and any colors that are associated with that share are consistent. This is where I can adjust that default setting. You can see here that I've adjusted these colors to match that of Frame.io, nice and purple. This same type of share will then be applied across my entire account. Content security. This is where the enterprise account is really differentiated for some of these scalable security features. Let's start with sharing settings. I can require a passphrase for all public shares. This applies to every account type, meaning that every time I share out a link, do I need users to input a passphrase that I have set before they could actually access my content? Additionally, I can set a default share expiration date. Do I want it to expire in 12 hours, 1 day, 1 week, or a custom time frame? I can apply that here. Let's click Not Set for now. I also can enable if I want users to be able to download anything associated with the share link. Again, this is all share links for the entire account. Secure share settings is specifically an enterprise-specific feature. There's a couple of secure share settings here. The first being authorized domain sharing or domain restricted links. This just means that only users whose email address matches that of that authorized domain can access a link that I share with them. So for example, at adobe.com. Let's shut this off for now. Additionally, I can require secure share links, which means that a user will need to sign in to a free Frame.io account before they could actually access the content I've shared with them. This just means that the user who I send it to is the only one who could open it up. So I can require that secure share link, and I can require this anytime I share out that link specifically. And watermark ID, an additional an additional enterprise specific feature. I can require watermark on any internal assets or on any external shares. You can see I have a couple of templates here. Let's create a new template. I'm just calling this one for our new project. I can then add in a number of custom text-based watermarks, the name of the user, their email address, IP address, date and time, and I can add in any custom text. I can adjust the opacity, the rotation. I can also change the color or the size. Additionally, I can allow these watermarks to scroll. An additional benefit here is that I can add in a secondary block. So if I wanted to have multiple text-based watermarks at once, I can apply those here. Creating a template for a watermark here in the settings will then enable any user to apply it at the time of external sharing. Any questions about these settings, please let me know while we transition to discussing projects. Happy to revisit any questions around those settings that you may have. But now that we've created these workspaces, you can see that I have a number of different projects. I did want to highlight this filtered section here for either active or inactive projects. So let's say I want to view or make a project inactive. For example, this marketing workspace that I have, this social media project we know is complete, but we actually want to hold on to some of this content because maybe the client will come back to us in a couple of months. I can just mark a project as inactive, hiding it from this main page, but I still have access to it at a later date. By filtering my project based on either all projects, inactive, or my current active projects, it then can reveal any content that's associated. Yeah. Earlier, when I was discussing those user roles and types, adding in users can be done either at the workspace level or the project level. So this marketing workspace that I have, you can see that I have a number of users that are here, but it looks like April is a pending user. I actually haven't added April yet into this workspace. Let's go ahead and do that now. April will now have access to every single project within this space. Creating a new project is simple. I could just click create new project. There are a number of project templates that our team has created here. If you're brand new to Frame, I would recommend leveraging one of these templates. There's automatically some built-in metadata tags, collections, and folders. You can also include sample content just to wet the whistle for some content that you actually want to add into your account and see a couple of workflows, whether it's for digital video production, location scouting, casting and auditions. These workflows exist. However, let's say we want to create our own project from scratch. Let's call this one casting photos. I know that I have a project where I'm going to be going through a couple of headshots. I want to use this project as means to be able to do so, and then maybe share out a couple of photos in the future. I can make a project restricted, just adding an added layer of security, and I can choose which workspace I want it to be part of for our summer campaign. Okay. You can now see that I have a project here for casting photos. Opening up this project will then show that I have a region where I can actually upload my own content and I can get to work. Let's go ahead and remove some of the content that's in here so we can start from scratch. I'm just going to select all this content and delete it. But now that I have a little bit more of an empty sandbox for me to be able to work, let's go ahead and upload some content into Frame. There's a number of different ways that I could do so. The first, I can just drag and drop content directly from my desktop or somewhere else on my machine. I can also click this plus button and I can upload either an asset or a folder. Let's go ahead and upload some of these photos all at once. I would like to highlight that I did have the option to upload the folder. Any folders that you upload will maintain their structure. I do want to draw your attention here to the left-hand side of the screen when I uploaded this content. I did get an update and an audit trail of the content that I uploaded, and it gave me a status bar. These are just some PNG files, so it uploaded rather quickly, as you could see. This just existed here on my desktop in this folder. I was able to upload all of this content here. The third way that I'm able to upload content is to use this Frame.io transfer app. This transfer app will actually match that of my account. So you can see that my workspaces show here. I also have my different projects within them, and I can upload or download content here. Sometimes it's a little bit quicker. I would recommend downloading this transfer app from the App Store, wherever you can, in order to either upload or download content just a little bit quicker. A benefit of using the transfer app as well is you can leverage watch folders. So you can set automatic uploads into Frame from a specific location. Anytime you upload content into Frame.io, there's a number of things that happen. So the first, the original file is always being imported and saved into Frame, so you can always access the original or download it at a later date. But additionally, we do transcode and create lightweight, web, and mobile-friendly proxy versions of content, so you can play it back from anywhere you have access to Frame, especially if you're traveling, you're on set, you're on the go, you're at the airport, etc. You do have access to various proxy versions. But now that I have all of this content that's here, I can do a number of different things with my content. I can simply just select assets and I can open them up to view them, as you can see here. But I also have the ability to create new folders. So by clicking with either my right finger click or the plus button, I could create a new folder. Let's call this one casting photos. I can then rearrange content as I see fit. So I can move multiple assets directly into a folder of my choosing, like my casting photos folder here. We can select all of our assets here. Why not? We can go ahead and move those into this folder. Additionally, I can multi-select and I can either download, copy, move, or duplicate assets. So downloading it will do just that. Copying it will move it into a different space. Moving it will move it into a different space, but without any comments or annotations associated. And duplicating will just create a parallel version of that asset. Anything that's done on one asset will not translate to the other. Let's go back home and go into our short edit space. I do want to spend a little bit of time now in this workspace actually going through a tour of just exactly what you're looking at within the project. Then we'll talk a little bit about version stacking, which is one of my favorite features, discuss commenting and annotating, and then dive into metadata and collections. Okay. So what you're looking at within this project space, I would like to draw your attention first to the top right corner of the screen. There is a different panel view, so you can adjust your individual view of your project. Adjusting each of these panels will give you a different view. The first panel is this main bar right here, which will show you a full list of your assets, the projects within, or the folders within this project, and anything recently deleted. You will also see your collections, which function kind of like smart folders. So you can see here that there's a couple of metadata tags applied to an asset. I can then create a collection based on those metadata tags. I'll hop into that in just a bit. And then shares. Any external shares, anytime you're creating a link to share out external to your account, will show here. And then C2C connections. This stands for camera to cloud connections. This is where you could sync up any hardware with Frame.io, in addition to connect to Adobe Lightroom. You can adjust the appearance of your main project page here. You can adjust the layout to either be thumbnail or list format. You can adjust the card size to be large, medium, or small. Again, this is for each individual user. You can adjust the aspect ratio of how you actually view your content. You can see that as I scrub here, I'm getting an overview of what's occurring within this asset. I also can see the tiles. I can flatten folders, just eliminating any folder on my account and see all of my assets associated. Fields, this stands for metadata fields. So I'll get to this in just a bit. But then I can custom sort based on these metadata fields. You can see it's sorted now based on name, but I can adjust based on any of these fields that I see fit, including any custom fields that I create. I would like to go back up into this panel view because I can view not only this bar that shows my assets, collections, and shares, but I can view then all the assets associated with my project or take it a step deeper to then see an individual asset. So you can see that I'm clicking on these assets within my project. I could just see them a little bit larger, just a quick way for me to be able to organize my content. Okay. For example, I'm going through all of these different graphics. I just want to see them without actually clicking into them. I would recommend using this second panel. I can even take this a step deeper and I can view then any asset that has a comment associated with it by opening up my third panel. So I can see my assets, collections, and shares, all assets within my project, a larger view of that asset, and my comments, just saving you from having to click into each asset in order to view any annotations that are associated with them. You can adjust all of that as you see fit. Speaking of organizing assets, I have these two assets right next to each other. They're pretty similar assets. This entire project that I'm working on now, it's called a drip ad campaign. This is mocking an energy drink campaign for some of our final deliverables that we want to deliver to the client. You can see that I have our model here who's running up the stairs. These two shots look rather similar. We have some nice golden light coming through. This one's just a little bit zoomed in. But let's say that I want to keep these two assets together. They're like assets. They're very similar. I know that we've all been guilty of having a very long email thread somewhere where everyone's wondering, what's the final asset? Final. We've prevented that confusion by building out a tool called version stacking. If you saw, I just dragged and dropped one asset over the next, and now I have this little V2 icon. That indicates that there's two different like versions that exist within the same stack. So by opening up this version stack, you can see that I have my main player page here. There's a whole bunch of comments that are associated. I can view just this one individual asset. But if I go up here into the top middle of my screen, I also can select the prior version, or I can compare them side by side. By clicking play, it is going to play them in tandem. This purple bar also indicates audio, so I can A/B test audio while still viewing the video asset right next to it. So I can see if we adjusted the song, maybe we adjusted the voiceover, but can also give your stakeholders an idea of the different edits that have occurred. In this top portion, I can also select which asset I want to view, especially important if there's more than one version stack that exists. Speaking of which, let's say I wanted to add a third or a fourth version stack to this particular versioning. I can then compare these versions and I can select which version I actually want to view side by side. You can see that then I can select any one of those different four versions that are already applied. A benefit to this version stacking as well is that I can share out this entire stack with stakeholders so they can view all of the content that I have adjusted, the various edits that have existed, and the comments that all exist within one place. Any questions about this player page, moving assets, or version stacking, please let me know. I do want to transition to speaking about commenting and annotating, and then some of the ways that we could leverage fields and metadata in collections. All right. So opening up this asset, let's say that we're working on a social media campaign for Drip. We know that we want this shot to be a part of that social media campaign that we're going to deploy. However, there's a couple of things that I want to communicate to our editor as they're going to be working on this project specifically. I really like this shot. It's a little bit long. We got a couple seconds. We know that we're going to need to cut it down. Watching this all the way through, I know that I really like the portion where the rays of light start coming through, where we're kind of making this curve. I think that that's a little bit more of a dynamic shot. I want to leave a comment associated with that. Not only can I just leave a single comment, but I can leave a wide range of different types of comments associated with a single asset. So I can drop a pin directly in one point in my timeline and a text-based comment. But I also can leave what we call a range-based comment, indicating a range of time that I want that comment to apply for. Back in the notification settings earlier, I know I mentioned that a user could be notified if their app mentioned. I can leave an app mention associated with a comment, notifying those individuals. I also can leave an annotation and a hashtag. I can leave what's called an anchored comment, so I can drop a pin to a specific location on my screen. And I can also upload a file to a comment. I know that's a whole bunch of different commenting types. It's rather dynamic. Let's leave a couple of these comments together. Starting with a range-based comment. I know that I want to leave a comment editing out this first portion or just indicating to our editor that we want to edit out this first portion. I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts. I'll show you where you can view all of them later, but I'm just going to click I, and then I'm going to click O, and I'm going to leave a range-based comment for this particular period of time. Then I'm going to go over here to the right-hand side, and I'm going to go ahead and leave a comment saying, can we edit this portion out? I want the clip to start with the rays of light. I'm leaving that comment down here, and by clicking on this comment, it is going to drop me directly to this location in the timeline with my name and my photo associated. This is where I recommended that your users add within the profile section their name and a photo that will be applied to any comment that they leave. Down here in the bottom right, there's also an option to add a timestamp or remove it, draw an annotation, attach a file, or add an emoji. Anytime I leave a comment, I can also have it be internal only, so only members who have access to my account will see those, especially important if you have freelancers or maybe don't want stakeholders to see comments. And then public, of course, can be viewed by anybody. And let's say that I really like these rays of light that are coming through, but I feel like the sky is a little bit washed out over here, just kind of doesn't look as blue as I would like for it to be. Let's go ahead and leave a hashtag annotation and put in colorist. And maybe April is going to be actually working and editing on this. But April hasn't accepted my invite yet. So let's go ahead and say that we want to leave it to Luke. I'm going to go ahead and mention Luke and say, can we make the sky more blue here? I'm saying here, but I do want to indicate exactly where I mean. I'm going to draw an annotation in the form of an arrow. I think pink will stick out the most, but I can leave then an arrow indicating that this is the portion that we want to edit the color for. I then can send this comment and it's going to apply that annotation directly to this comment. But you can see here, I did combine a couple of different types of comments all at once, a hashtag, an at mention, and an annotation. All right, let's go ahead and click play and we can keep going. Now that I mentioned this anchored comment feature, that exists right down here on the bottom right. By clicking on this anchored comment, I then can drop a pin anywhere that I would like on my display. So let's say that I did want to drop a pin here and we determined that maybe there is some other different costume design that we wanted. I could then either attach a file or I could just leave a comment and say, I thought the look was going to be different. And let's leave this one as an internal comment. And let's say that I want to at mention, maybe Jacob is going to be managing our custom design. I can go ahead and at mention Jacob. And I've dropped a pin then indicating, well, I'm in this particular location. I've seen anchored comments, especially used in PDFs or JPEGs as well, just leaving a little bit more specificity to a specific location. All right. I also can leave just a comment or a PDF associated directly with a comment as well. So let's say that I want to use a voiceover script. We know that maybe we want to have somebody who's speaking at this portion. I'm writing, let's have the voiceover edited over this clip because I know that I want to actually apply this PDF. I can also open up this PDF. You can see that here. It gives me a little bit more info about exactly what that voiceover entailed. Yep. This player page as well enables me to play pause, to loop, to change the playback speed or the audio. I can also adjust how I view my time format in either standard or time code. I also then can view under the settings portion, the quality. I can add in guides. So if we wanted to see how it would actually show in like a social media edit, for example. Additionally, I can break out or show anchored comments and adjust the thumbnail that will show associated with my project page. This comment section, though, then is rather dynamic. You can see I have a couple of comments that I've left here, all of the various comment types that I mentioned. But more than just these comments existing, users can actually reply directly to these comments. So I can reply back and say, I already did this. And then I can actually click this option here to mark it as complete, meaning that I could use this comment section like a checklist with my team. I also can filter out to view the different types of comments that exist. Of course, as you're doing your review process, there's a lot of different annotations or reviews, I'm sure, that go into every single edit. So you can actually sort based on comments that have annotations, attachments, anything that's completed, unread, a person or a hashtag. I also can search within this comment section. So remember, I did leave a hashtag for colorist. I think you can search for anything associated. And I have the option to either copy and paste these comments elsewhere. I could export them to Final Cut, Media Composer, Premiere, Resolve, or I could also print them, creating a PDF and a full audit trail of all of the content that has been annotated and commented on within my account. Any questions about this player page, leaving comments? Please let me know as we transition to talk a little bit about metadata fields, which going back into this asset, if you could see here, there is this option for fields. You can already see here that some of these metadata fields are adjusting based on who actually saw this. I could then adjust the status or any number of different metadata fields that exist. Not only can I do that at the asset level, but I can do that for my entire project. So here under metadata, I have 36. I've already created 4 custom metadata fields. There's 32 out of the box, but you can create your own. You can see I have a number here for video status, release platform, release date, final edit, and all of these options are ticked on. Clicking on a metadata field will then apply it directly to my project. So I can then view any metadata field that's associated here directly on the account. Adding metadata fields will then allow me to sort them, to search for them, or create a collection based on a number of different metadata fields. So let's go ahead and go home. We can view all of our assets here. You can see that I have these 5 assets where the video status is in a number of different status features, awaiting approval, ready for release, needs revision, etc. The release platform has been selected. So that's a custom metadata field that was applied. We know that we are going to be distributing these across all of our socials. The release date is selected. The final edit, which is also an additional metadata field, is selected. Yes, we can adjust the assignee to any members within the account. And of course, there's a rating option here. Let's go ahead and view this final edit here. That looked great. We are ready for distribution. We know that we are going to be sending it out. We have done the complete end-to-end review process. We went through some clips together. We know that we're going to be distributing it. The metadata fields and the collections fit hand in glove together. So for example, this collection is created revealing any final asset. So all of those metadata fields that were clicked on for final asset are going to show here. This final asset section has been customized. So I've added in a logo, there's a name, there's also a full header here, and this filtered option, so the metadata fields that are being selected is final edit is checked. That's the metadata field that matches. And the group is based on the metadata field of release platform. So every single asset that has the check mark final asset and has a release platform is going to be listed here. So now I have a collection of Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all of the different edits that exist that are my final deliverables. But let's start from scratch. And let's say that maybe we aren't quite yet at this final process, and we actually want to create a metadata collection that will reveal anything that has 5 stars, for example. So let's create a new collection just by clicking the plus button here. And let's go ahead and do review in progress. Can be the name of this. Let's go ahead and add in some branding. So we could add in a star. And let's say that I want to adjust this header. I don't know if you saw in that previous clip that we were just looking at, but there was a header that showed our model there up in the blocks. Let's go ahead and add in our own custom background image as well. I'm going to click edit and change the image. We can have this revealed any of our custom sort options here, or of course I can upload my own. But let's go ahead and add in something that looks professional and nice. I can also adjust the size of my header, small, medium, large. I can have the logo, description, or a background image if I choose so. Right. This is a collection of all assets tagged with 5 stars. That's a great description, but how do we actually know? I can select the source folder, all assets. So I want to choose from everywhere within my account, but I also want to adjust the field, the metadata field of rating. And the filter could be, again, our rating equals 5 stars. So it's only going to then reveal every single asset within my account that has this 5-star rating. And it will auto adjust based on any time I adjust those metadata fields. So let's go back over here to maybe our footage section. Let's go ahead and add 5 stars to all of these different assets. Going over here to review in progress, you can see that it's going to auto update then with all of the different assets that match that metadata field. Cool. Oh, Tommy was asking if I can go back to describe the difference between a member and a guest. Yeah, I did send over that article that just outlines the different user roles, but I can certainly revisit that in just a moment. Any questions about metadata and collections? One thing I did not highlight yet is how you can create your own custom metadata field. So if I was to go here to new field, that would enable me to then make any selection here, single select, multi-select, date, rating, a person, multiple people. These are all of the different types of metadata that I could select and can create my own. So I've seen this for like legal approval. If I wanted to create a new field for legal approval, maybe there's a lot of logos that we're looking at. I can have a single select or a multi-select option. You can just be like yes or no. And you can see that that metadata field is going to show here where then I can select these options that I just created. Cool. Transitioning now to talk a little bit about some of this external sharing. So I did create a collection here of my review in progress. I can share out a collection. I can share out just an individual asset. I can also share out a group of assets. So there's a couple of different ways that I can actually share out for review. So let's go ahead and actually just select this collection and share it. There's one general share link here that you now see that matches all of the branding that I had added. So I have my description, my name, and my header. Over here in the top right, I then can adjust. Do I want this to be a secure review link or a public link, as we discussed earlier? Do I want this layout to be either grid, list, or reel? The grid format is just this. It's going to show in thumbnail. I also can adjust if I want it in list format, or reel format will then reveal the colors that I'd selected earlier in my custom branding option. So this now matches my Frame.io logos in reel format. I also can adjust the security, passphrase, expiration date, watermark ID. I also can adjust the permissions. Do I want users to actually be able to comment, download, or show all versions? And I can select one metadata field that I want any external reviewers to edit. Let's go ahead and open up this share together. This is exactly what my users are going to see. Remember, I had applied this watermark ID, so it has my email address, my IP address, and any custom text. However, I do have the ability to edit a share once it's been created. So if I wanted to adjust and say, actually, I don't want to enable comments, downloads, or versions, and I want the watermark to go away, let's go ahead and reopen up this asset. I am going to just refresh it, and you can see here that those options for me to actually then leave comments or annotations has gone away. Under this all shares section is where I can get then a list of all of the shares that I've actually created. I also can shut off a share if maybe I generated it or created it a little bit hastily. I also can multi-select shares here and I can either enable or delete them. So I do have the option to edit in mass all of these different share links. I did showcase what it was like to create a share link from a collection, but I can create a share link just from a folder, for example. So if I multiple select, I can create this share link, or I can add it to an existing share. I could also create a share link without any content associated with it yet. So for example, I could click this plus button here for create share, and then we kind of start from scratch. There is not a header, there's no branding associated with it. But with this share that just now defaults to today's date, I could drag and drop content into it, knowing that I want to share it out at a later date, and then can either manage access by adding in the email addresses of the users I want to share it with, or just copying and pasting this link. Hmm. Any questions about external sharing? Please let me know. I do want to draw your attention here to the bottom left-hand side of the screen here. You can access our keyboard shortcuts. I know that I mentioned that when I was leaving a range-based comment using the I and the O keyboard, but these are all listed here. There's also an option here to submit a feature request. So if there's something that you don't see in Frame that you said, wow, this would be really helpful for my workflow, let us know. Want to make any adjustments as needed. Our teams take those seriously. We review them every day. Additionally, we do have a support team that's available 24/7. So by clicking this contact support option, these are actually live folks that are chatting right now. You can message them with any additional questions or also access our knowledge base. So search for help. You can see here that there are a ton of articles like Frame.io Explain, collaboration, and feedback. Especially if you have some new users in your account, I'd recommend that they check out a couple of articles there for any additional questions. I do want to share as well in the chat now just the article that leads you to our general knowledge base. This is a great thing to tag or save for a later date. We are nearing the end of our session today. I know that we have reviewed a ton of content, a complete end-to-end overview, talked about account settings, user roles, workspaces and projects, uploading content, commenting and annotating metadata and collections, and external sharing. I hope that this was a helpful overview. Tommy, I know that you mentioned that you wanted me to revisit member role types. Which account type do you have? Certainly will be different depending on which type of account you have. Any other questions, please shoot them my way. If you need to hop, thank you for joining me today. I hope that this was a helpful session. Megan, is it possible to get a recording of this session? It is. So actually, if you were attending today, if you signed up, you will receive this as a recording. So if you signed up, we'll send you over a link, but it's also available on our YouTube page. Let me pull that up and I can share it over with you. You're welcome. Megan, here is the link. It's live right now, so it will take you directly to this session. All right. Um, Tommy, I am going to drop in the chat now an article that just outlines user roles and permissions. This will go a little bit deeper, depending on account role type, the difference between these different user roles and exactly how they will fit within your account. Tommy is also asking what extra perks does it come with if I upgrade? Yeah, good question. Mostly security related settings and scalability. So right now, the limitations of the team and the pro plan is you can only add up to 15 users and only one workspace. But if you upgrade to enterprise, those can both be scaled unlimited. Tommy, for pro plan, I think it's 2 terabytes of storage per user, and then you could add extra. But I would chat with our support team. I mostly support enterprise type accounts, so I'm not certain. I would double check. Cool. Well, thank you for joining today. I'm not seeing any other questions come through. I hope that this was a helpful session. Like I mentioned, it is recorded, so feel free to revisit this at any time. But I lead this session weekly. I won't be here next week, but I will be back in 2 weeks. So feel free to come join again. Come with any questions that you have. Happy to get to them. But thank you for your engagement today. Again, I hope that this was helpful. Thanks for allowing us to be a part of your creative process. I know that there is a lot that goes into your day-to-day work, so we're honored to be a part of it. But on behalf of our entire team, thank you for joining me for Frame.io Live. This was Get to Know Frame.io version 4. We'll see you later. Thank you.